the Seminole County Emergency Manager, Alan Harris, does this all year long, and he's very passionate about it. So they were out here quickly. The first report that they had about a home being damaged in here was at 9:40 this morning. So I'm not even sure what time it is right now, but they were out here very quickly. By the time we got here, which is only about 30 minutes later, there was already fire trucks up and down the road, and Seminole County Sheriff's Office back there as well, helping out the folks. Power companies coming in as well, because some of the power has been knocked out. And we have seen power lines down, but yeah, everyone kind of really jumped into action here. And this, from what I've seen at least, and we drove from Sanford through Lake Mary and here down to the Markham Woods area, this has been the most significant impact here in this area from this storm that we've seen so far. So hopefully everyone in the neighborhood is doing all right, and hopefully the damage isn't too severe, but we should find that out pretty soon.
All right, Bob, and just to help you out, it's 11:08, just so you know. It's 11:08. I'm sure it's all a blur for you. All right.
And these storms started coming through during the 8 o'clock hour of the morning show this morning, and they started from the west and were making their way eastward across the state, including here in Central Florida. And we see a lot of that damage in Seminole County. We've got crews checking out Volusia County. Cam, what are the conditions right now along the coast?
Right now, we're starting to see some improvement. It depends where you are. This is all ahead of the cold front that moved through our area. That's what triggered the severe weather. And as we take a look at our satellite and radar, we're still dealing with some gusty thunderstorms, especially out towards southern portions of Volusia County as well as Seminole County. As you can see, that heavy rain right now over at Oak Hills, Scottsmore, and even across Seminole County, still near Chuliota. We're also seeing that rain over in downtown Orlando and down south towards Kissimmee as well. Once this cold front passes, it will be very windy. So as crews clean up from all the debris later today, they'll also be contending with very strong winds coming out of the southwest right now, shifting more towards the west later on this afternoon, and gusting right now up to about 40 miles per hour. So outside of those thunderstorm cells, we're seeing some very, very strong winds. All of Central Florida is still under that risk for severe weather for today. As we go through the rest of the day, here's a look at the setup here. The worst of the weather will be right over lunchtime for areas in Brevard and Osceola County. Once we get past lunchtime, you can see around 2 to 3 o'clock some lingering rain, but this is not expected to impact that evening drive at all. So we are going to see some improvement over the next several hours here. So I would say by 3 o'clock, the worst of the weather will be long gone, and setting up the rest of the day today, we will see mostly clear skies and some chilly conditions behind this front. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, thank you. Looking forward to kind of things clearing out so people can assess the damage across the area this morning.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear them talking about sunshine soon and clear skies when considering everything we've been through this morning. What a Monday morning, right? Central Florida? What? Wow.
Unbelievable. But it was so dark this morning during the morning commute because every time we would take those live looks along I-4 and everywhere around the area, all the traffic cameras, it was just so dark. And then that's when those warnings started coming through.
We have some live pictures here. This is a neighborhood in Wekiva Springs. And again, we can't emphasize this enough. Look how quickly these crews are out. Already there, you can see that heavy equipment lifting up these limbs, clearing these roads. It is going to look very different around here in a few hours because of just how quickly this county, Seminole County, has responded to this.
Yes, we saw the incident command post set up at the neighborhood off Markham Woods Road where Bob Hazen was reporting just a little bit ago, and Bob said that they were standing by for an update from the firefighters and that department to find out a little bit more about what they're seeing around Seminole County and that particular neighborhood. But again, Nancy, you've been saying this throughout the morning, as quickly as this came in and quickly as it left, people have started mobilizing to try to clean up.
I think it's important to emphasize, particularly for folks who have just moved to Central Florida, because we always have to remember how many new residents we have around here all the time that have never experienced something like this. Perhaps people who lived here a long time know this, but you know, we got to keep in mind it's 11:15 right now. I know we're not thinking about the kids coming home from school just yet, but they will be this afternoon. Probably not a good idea to have them walking home from the bus stops in these neighborhoods that have been most impacted by this severe weather. We don't know if nails, you know, flew around everywhere. We've seen pieces of roofs that have flown off. We don't want a kid picking anything up, throwing something at somebody else. You just never know. Kids are kids, right? So it's just something to keep in mind, particularly if you're new around here, right? Just be careful if you're out and about in these neighborhoods. If your kids are going to be coming home later this afternoon, still a good time to just show some caution because we don't really know what's in all that debris.
Of course, not to mention the power lines as well.
Exactly, of course.
Yes. All right, we want to get to Stuart Moore. He's live live in Seminole County this morning, Markham Woods area as well. Stu, we can see the incident command post behind you. What else have you been seeing?
Well, just been seeing the massive debris. And I mean, I know Bob Hazen went over that with you guys, but just want to give you the details that this roadway is still pretty much locked down if you're going towards the Altamont Springs area from the Longwood area. Not letting any people in that don't need to be in. Very few residents have been allowed to get into their neighborhood at Whispering Winds Lane. In this area, you can see just from the damage that Bob has already showed you, a lot of these trees are still down as they start to begin the cleanup just in this very moment. One big takeaway, though, this happened around 9:15 this morning, 9:30 this morning. A lot of parents had just dropped their kids off at school. Me personally had just done the exact same thing. My kids go to school not 5 miles away from here. My house is about 5 miles the other direction from here. So in that moment, a lot of parents and people started to panic to figure out what was going on in their area. Those tornado warnings started to pop up, and they started getting closer and closer to the metro area. Jerry, we need to slide over just a little bit. We got an urban search and rescue. Looks like a vehicle that's about to come right from behind you as well. They've been bringing in more and more of these vehicles from the fire department. The incident command area from Seminole County has been here. The sheriff's office has been here helping direct traffic, get these vehicles in and out. Another one of their big vehicles. We've also seen just recently one of their drones has just gone up into the air. It's trying to get a survey of the damage. If you go all the way down this street, that's where the worst of it is. Making a right bend around there, you can see where that house that they believe has collapsed has gone down from these tornado maybe winds that came through this area. We've also started to see some of those tarps that have started popping up on rooftops as well to try and fix some of these leaks that's been an issue just in that immediate downfall from this storm in this area. But again, this is one of those scenarios where not only do we have to look at the damage, but we're also going to hear from Seminole Fire coming up in just a few minutes to give us a full update on this area. From what I've been told by neighbors and people that live around here, no one was hurt when this house was damaged by the tornado. But guys, we're going to get a full wrap up from Seminole Fire as they continue to work to get this area cleaned up and neighbors and people to be able to go back down the street again. Nancy and Sheldon, I'll send it back in the studio to you.
All right, Stuart, thank you. We appreciate it. A lot of parents were getting updates from their schools across Seminole County this morning about plans that were happening to keep the kids safe.
And it's so unnerving because you don't know what to do. You think to yourself, okay, I just dropped them off. Should I go pick them up? What do I do? Bring them home? But you also have to remember, we talk about this training. We've been talking about it all morning. Schools are trained as well, right? And they know what to do. These teachers know what to do. They know how to keep the kids safe. It's actually more dangerous to go get them and drive in this. So hopefully everyone did the right thing. We do want to get straight to this news conference from Seminole County. Let's listen into the very latest.
9:40 for a collapsed structure due to a weather-related issue. On arrival, we found one completely collapsed structure, one partially collapsed structure. Fortunately, all the occupants were able to self-extricate from the homes, and there are no injuries at this time. It does appear there is a lot of severe damage running across the area out here on Markham Woods Road. There are down power lines, trees in the roads, and debris everywhere. If you could avoid the area, please do so.
Assistant Chief Zellis, can you tell us the name of the neighborhood that you were in this morning?
We were on Blue Iris Court. It's near the Wingfield subdivision, and we are currently established a unified command with the Seminole County Sheriff's Department and with emergency management doing wide area searches to ensure that no one else is injured or there is other damage.
You were on the scene. Describe what you can in your words, what you saw.
It was lots of debris in the roadway. We had to work our way around a downed tree in the roadway to gain access to the house. The house was collapsed on all sides with the exception of one corner of the house in the front, which is where the residents happened to be occupying.
Talk to me a little bit about preparing for a tornado. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. It happens so fast. Just how scary it is for these residents. And obviously, when a tornado hits, it's really only in like a designated area. It only hits hard like one spot, basically.
That is correct. It didn't. This was kind of a touchdown-looking event. You'll have to, consult the weather people to, see what really happened. But the residents did say that it happened very quickly. They received their alert Seminole that said "Seek shelter now." They sheltered in place, and we only had that one major damaged.
Why do you think it's so important to have those, alerts on their phones? Because without them, who knows?
Well, if that had been the event had been much bigger and it had, stayed on the ground a little bit longer, reached several more houses, then it would have been imperative that the people had been sheltered in place correctly, or there could have been a lot of injuries.
What kind of structure was it? Can you describe the house for us?
It was a two-story residential structure, wood frame. These houses are very large on this side of Markham Woods Road, and it's been in the area for a while. It's an older established house.
You had mentioned they're lucky to be alive because they were or were not inside the house.
They were inside of the house. The house did collapse around them. They as well had received the alert Seminole and sheltered in place in the
Had
house.
they been anywhere in the house besides where they were?
Apparently, if we look at the structure is completely damaged except for the corner that they were in. So they're very lucky to be in the position they're in.
And looking around the other parts of the neighborhood, what can you describe?
And again, I see lots and lots of trees down, a lot of debris. There's pieces of roof, shingles, trees, parts of cars, garage doors. So there was a significant amount of minor damage as well.
It's a private neighborhood we're talking about where you were?
Yes.
Okay. And the roadways are clear? Are they blocked off?
The roadways are blocked off. Blue Iris is completely blocked off. Please don't try to gain access to that neighborhood right now. We still have crews working, clearing roadways, and the power company is working on down power lines.
This caught a lot of you by surprise.
We did receive a tornado warning earlier in the day. They put us on a tornado warning early, and then the tornado happened in the middle of that warning.
Came quickly.
Yes.
Recently, how's the family doing?
Everybody seems to be doing well. They were able to get some of their stuff out of the house, and we assisted them in that, and they are going to be staying with neighbors for the time being. But
are they doing all right considering?
They seem well.
What can you tell us about the house now? Is it going to be demolished?
The building inspectors are looking at it, but just by looking at it, they will have to start from the ground up. We haven't got any word from the Red Cross yet. We did contact Red Cross to see if they would get some people here to assist.
Approximate age of the house?
I'm guessing probably 30 years old.
I think there's another press conference happening at noon. I don't know if that's. We just got an email from Doreen from Seminole County Fire Department. I guess it's Director of Emergency Management, Assistant Chief of Special Operations, Fire Department, and Sheriff's Office.
We'll probably be back in there.
You all prepare for so many situations, countless. What's it like mentally to go from tornado warning to tornado down to house down? Like, what's that process like?
Well, we prepare for this a lot. We have special operations teams that are specially trained in structural collapse in case we would have had to shore up the building and make an entry in and rescue somebody that was trapped. All of our firefighters, all of our employees are very well trained in going from 0 to 100 in seconds. So this is another day for us.
Chief Zellers, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, you just heard the leadership there on the ground as we respond to this severe weather that blew through Central Florida, specifically Seminole County. And I think he said it best when he just said we train in going from 0 to 100. And that is exactly what Seminole County did. I mean, within the hour of this thing blowing through, we saw crews out there already, going at those tree limbs. Perhaps the biggest news that came out of that update, no injuries.
Yes, and he talked about a family that sustained terrible damage at their home. All three of them are okay. They are going to need a new place to stay, but the good news was that none of them were severely hurt.
Yeah, and we certainly feel for those folks. We don't ever want to see, damage or anyone lose their home or their belongings. But my gosh, to hear that no one was hurt in all of this, when we look at some of this debris, some of these trees that fell. I mean, thankfully, this is in the morning. People could have been walking their dogs. I mean, this
starting their day, heading to work.
Yeah, this could have been so much worse.
So during that press conference, we had some live images from Lake Marion. We could see a tractor trailer that was flipped over on its side, getting flipped back over. WESH 2 anchor Christina Watkins is live in Lake Marion this morning in a different part of that region. Christina.
Hey, Sheldon and Nancy. So within the last few minutes, we watched crews flip back on its tires. This semi-truck that flipped over this morning in the height of the severe weather. We want to give you a live look now as Lake Mary Fire Rescue, Lake Mary Police, and Seminole County Fire Department continue cleaning up the scene here on Commerce Street and Lake Emma Boulevard. You were taking a live look at that semi-truck, which was just moments ago flipped over on its side, but now crews finally have it back on all of its tires. The driver is also next to the truck. You guys were talking about some good news from that update from Seminole County leaders. Well, good news here, the driver who was in that truck, along with his small dog, it looked like a Chihuahua, they are all okay. He has been walking around, kind of assessing the damage himself, waiting for this moment, for them to get the truck back upright so he can proceed on with his day. We heard from the public information officer from Lake Mary Fire Rescue within the last 10 minutes, and she told us the driver did not hear anything in his truck. He did not see anything besides the rain. It just happened within a split second that his truck was flipped over on its side. And so she reminds viewers and all of you at home, whenever we give you those alerts, like we did yesterday on Sunrise, we said this morning we would have some impact weather, and that in fact we did. So they advise people when we give you those warnings to really take heed, stay prepared, stay up to date so that you can stay home and be careful when the severe weather rolls through. Let's give you one more look now at the truck as they continue to just kind of get it on the tow truck so they can move it out the way and clear the scene. Traffic is a little backed up. We're not too far from Lake Murray Boulevard, but I got to tell you, emergency leaders are doing a great job out here keeping traffic flowing, making sure there aren't too many backups here at this scene. That's the latest here from Lake Mary. I'll send it back to you guys.
What a story he's going to have,
Yes.
right? What a work day for him. Christina, as you said, they're just bringing his truck back up, and he's going to continue on with his day. But Christina, again, that message from you about paying attention to these alerts when we issue them. Today, this moment, this whole morning is a perfect example of why it's so important to pay attention to those alerts.
And that preparation is key, and our meteorologists had been tracking this system for a while. They talked about it over the weekend. They talked about it all throughout the morning show as well to help people plan for their day, and it came in handy with just everything that was happening and how quickly those tornadoes formed.
All right, and we're still tracking it now. Let's get straight over to Cam. You are now looking at a severe thunderstorm warning.
That's right. We have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for Osceola as well as in Orange County until 11:45 this morning. In fact, the airport at Kissimmee saw a gust of 58 miles per hour, which is what triggered this severe thunderstorm warning. It is moving off to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. So this is heading away from Kissimmee as we speak and heading into southern Orange County. Here's a look at some of the communities that will be impacted soon. It does include Meadow Woods, Kissimmee. We're also seeing this race off towards near Belle Isle. As we speak, we're seeing very, very heavy rain with this severe warning cell. Thankfully, no rotation with it as of right now, but of course, we'll continue to monitor it. We're also still seeing a line of gusty thunderstorms up to our north and east out towards northern Brevard County, southeastern Volusia County. This is all ahead of a cold front moving through. I will say, let me ping some of the winds on our first warning radar, with this particular severe warning cell. Again, seeing very strong winds well over 40 miles per hour. So we're continuing to watch the severe warning cell as it moves off to the northeast. So we're still watching for this severe thunderstorm cell that has just been issued here for Osceola as well as in Orange County. Is this cell that's about to move towards St. Cloud soon, Lake Hart, Narcoossee Road, Innovation Way, heading towards the 417 and the Beach Line. So those are some of the communities that will be impacted next with this severe thunderstorm. Also still seeing some gusty thunderstorms up to the north here near Lake Mary and Sanford. Thankfully, no rotation with that, monitoring that as we go throughout the evening. I will say winds are still really gusty as the system moves on through. We're also noticing winds mostly out of the southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. But once that cold front clears us, we're going to see very strong winds even once that front system clears. Look at the gusts, gusting up to 32 right now. Kissimmee, 25 in Titusville, 35 right now in Melbourne. All of Central Florida still under a risk here for severe thunderstorms through the afternoon. However, I do think that threat for severe weather should be ending around 3 o'clock. And that's because these line of showers and thunderstorms will be moving more towards the southeast, towards Brevard and Osceola County. You can can see by just after lunchtime this afternoon. Then as we go into around 3 o'clock, some lingering showers around, but the worst of the weather should be wrapping up over the next 3 hours or so. And then unfortunately, that's when we really start to see the cleanup from all the debris from those thunderstorms that we're continuing to see. So this afternoon, take a look at your 12-hour forecast. We will continue to see showers, thunderstorms till about 3, and then we'll clear on out in the overnight hours. And behind that, colder air does move into central Florida. Look at that overnight low of just 53, high of just 74 tomorrow afternoon. And then we do see a gradual warm up as we head towards late week. But again, I just want to emphasize a new severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued for Osceola and now southern Orange counties until 11:45 this morning, because we are seeing winds of about 58 to 60 miles per hour within this cell. And I'm going to check really quickly before I toss you guys to make sure there's definitely no rotation with this. Watching right now, and thankfully that is the case. I'm not seeing any rotation because, of course, we've had a history of rotation with some of these thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms that have popped up lately, but we are definitely seeing strong winds well over 35, 40 miles per hour within this cell. So back to you guys.
Cam, just so interesting to hear you talk about the strong wind we're seeing in Osceola County. So you can only imagine what they experienced in Seminole County when we look at that damage, that semi-truck, just knocked over. It's going to be really interesting to see the gusts, how strong they were, because wow, what an impact it made there.
Christina gave us a look at the conditions in Lake Mary. We checked in with Bob Hazen, who showed us the Markham Woods area, and we want to get back to David Jones. He's in the Wekiva Springs area where cleanup is already underway.
Hey, I feel like every time you guys come back to us, there's more progress that's being made to clean up these massive 2 trees that had fallen on the roads. Now you can see the county has brought in this heavy machinery that they were actually just using to actually go and break up the tree and to push it off to the side of the road so that the county could then bring in these trucks to come and clear it all out. So very, very quick work that's happening out here. Again, this is Fox Valley off Wekiva Springs and in Wekiva Springs in the Sweetwater Oaks subdivision. I've been talking a little bit with Amy. Amy, you were actually here when this storm hit. Just kind of talk to me about what you experienced.
Well, I was in my living room and I heard the wind, but I'm here 25 years. I've been through several hurricanes. It was a wind that sounded like no other. When they say it sounds like a train, it sounds like a train. And I did look outside and I thought maybe it was heavy rain, but it was more wind and it was just gray. I couldn't really see anything. Didn't hear the tree fall, but after I got my dogs into the hallway just to get into a safe part of the house. And I came out, I looked outside and I saw huge trees that were across the road, blocking the road. Very happy it didn't land on my neighbor's house, but surely scary.
Yeah, and we were just talking about a little bit of the damage that we've seen in the area.
Yeah.
We saw the fences were down over there at the pickleball courts, the netting along the fences at the tennis courts was ripped up. There was a palm tree that was down, and there's a trampoline that
Yes, trampoline. I didn't see it, but I heard it was airborne into the street. We were really fortunate. I mean, insurance rates in Florida, people know what I'm talking about. You don't want your house damaged in any way. We were very fortunate. Just minor limbs that were easy to pick up. So I'm glad my neighbors' houses were not damaged.
And then we were talking also about the crews and how quickly they got to work.
Very quickly, very quickly. I would say within 10 minutes of the storm passing, there was already a crew out here cutting the trees up.
Yeah, I've seen them. I mean, as we've been standing here talking, we've seen them now put up this taping around the debris pile that was left behind after these 2 massive trees fell. So they've been, again, bringing out this heavy machinery, breaking it up, just getting to work. And we were talking a little bit about the path of this storm, right? And how that kind of plays an impact with how quickly these crews can get to work.
Yeah, and I was actually watching WESH 2 when everything started, as they were discussing the path. And you don't really think it's ever going to go through your neighborhood. So I was very shocked and surprised, but glad that everything is okay.
What goes through your mind whenever you're looking at that map on the TV and you see the path and you're like, oh wow, that's over my neighborhood, it's over my home?
I guess you don't want to believe it. You're in a little bit of denial and you become complacent sometimes because it does happen throughout the years living here. So you should not become complacent. That is my advice. Don't become complacent. Take shelter, do what you have to do. It may be for nothing, hopefully, but be prepared.
And Amy, I think the really cool part about this, obviously a tornado or a storm is never cool, but it is nice to see all the neighbors who have come out here to help.
This is a very, very neighborly community, Sweetwater Oaks. Everybody helps everybody else. That's just the way it is. You can see this neighborhood has a lot of trees, and so tree damage and limbs down is nothing new during a storm, even sometimes just during a thunderstorm. But the neighbors are great. Everybody helps everybody. It's a great place to live.
Yeah, there was even talking to a couple neighbors who were up there on the roof of your neighbor, Rebecca, cutting up that tree.
Yes, absolutely. There was a gentleman who I'd never met before who lived down the street. And he was bringing me my trash cans. Apparently, they flew all the way down the neighborhood. But great people to live in this neighborhood.
Amy, again, we're very glad to see that no injuries reported out here, that no major structural damage outside of those two trees.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that everybody fared well through this storm.
All right, so now we'll just show you a little bit again of these crews doing the hard work out here, blowing all the debris out of the road, sweeping it out of the road. The priority being to get this road reopened and, of course, to get this debris cleared out here. So that's the story in Wekiva Springs, but for now, we'll send it back to y'all in the studio.
All right, David, we appreciate it. Just incredible how quickly these crews have been able to mobilize to help clean up these neighborhoods. As David mentioned, every time we check back in with him, they're making more progress in that particular subdivision and neighborhood in Wekiva Springs. But, we heard from multiple neighbors on that street who said it sounded like a freight train. We hear that all the time when we do the storm coverage. But then it's incredible, the truck driver in Lake Mary said he didn't hear anything. So it's just interesting,
you just never know.
Both had more severe impacts.
I think it's incredible that we've talked to now two people who have lived here, one all her life, one 25 years, she said, multiple hurricanes they've lived through, but they said they never heard or seen anything like what they experienced this morning. So that's very, very telling. Let's get straight over to Cam now, because this isn't really over yet. We are still tracking some severe weather across Central Florida. Cam, what's the latest?
That's right. So we had a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Osceola as well as Orange County. It looks like the National Weather Service has just dropped that warning. I'm actually a step off the screen to confirm that because we no longer see that warning on this cell. So yes, it looks like they did just cancel that severe thunderstorm warning. It was in effect for southern portions of Orange County heading into or from out of Osceola County. It was this particular cell here that was just east of Kissimmee. It was racing off to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour heading towards Lake Hart and Meadow Woods. But again, the National Weather Service has since canceled that severe thunderstorm warning early. It was going to go until 11:45, but they have since dropped the warning since it looks like the winds are no longer of that severe threat. But still, I'm also watching the second cell just south of St. Cloud, watching to see if that could possibly turn severe. This is all ahead of a cold front that's moving through. And even though the severe thunderstorm warning has been dropped, we're still seeing some pretty strong winds with this particular cell. So I'm actually going to hop off here and ping some of these winds within this, what was a severe warned cell. Actually, meteorologist Kellyanne Class is going to hop on and help me with this. We're seeing some winds still around 30 to 40 miles per hour. So no longer at the severe level capacity, but still strong enough that we could possibly still see some damaging winds. So this is Kellyanne. She's pinging winds of about 38 to 40 near Lake Hart there. Also near Kissimmee, we're still seeing winds of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Earlier, the airport at Kissimmee, we were pinging winds right around 60, which is why the National Weather Service did trigger that severe thunderstorm warning. But that thunderstorm just south of Kissimmee, we're seeing winds of about 40 miles per hour. So watching even here near Point Siena, we're looking at some strong to possibly damaging winds still, although just not at the severe level capacity. So this is the cell that we're watching just south of St. Cloud, still producing some really strong winds. Again, not severe warned or anything, but we're still watching this line as it pushes off towards the east. Thanks, Kellyanne, for that, for pinging some of those winds. You can see why we're watching this. We're still looking at some gusty winds up north near Scottsmore, and also another line of showers and thunderstorms heading towards the Space Coast. We're also seeing showers and thunderstorms near Port St. John and Cape Canaveral. I want to show you something here earlier. So meteorologist Kellyanne Class and I were on air as this was happening. So what I want to show you is the radar imagery of what happened earlier when that tornado warned cell was moving through Wekiva and into Seminole County. So I'm going to circle this little area, highlight this with my arrow to show you that this is where that possible tornado warning was triggered. So it was just here near Wekiva Springs, and then it looped. Actually, you got it. Thanks, Kellyanne. This was actually, we hold the radar down It was just after 9:30 that we actually saw the rotation near Wekiva Springs there, and then it moved northeastward across I-4 into the Lake Mary area. So this is the rotation that the National Weather Service is now sending crews out to investigate, again, the damage and what kind of range it will fall on the EF scale in terms of tornado strength. So radar showing confirmation of that, but we also now need survey crews to head out, and that's what the National Weather Service is doing. So Kellyanne made this graphic showing exactly where the location was. It was just near Wekiva, just around 9:30 this morning, moved off to the northeast towards Sanford just before 10. Again, this is unofficial reports. This is not from the National Weather Service. This is literally meteorologist Kellyanne Klass and I pinpointing on the radar when we saw radar, what looked like radar truth, that there was rotation during that tornado warning. Still not out of the clear yet. We're all under a severe weather risk, level 1 out of 5 through about this afternoon. I would say about 2 to 3 o'clock is when we'll start to see things clear out. Here's a look at Futurecast. You can see right around lunchtime, the strongest of the thunderstorms should be right along the coast there in Brevard, as well as in Osceola County by 2 to 3. Some lingering showers, but the worst of the weather will be done by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, we
Cam.
appreciate it.
All right, we want to get back out to Stuart Moore now. He is in Seminole County as well. I believe we have Stuart. I think we do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Stuart, you live there. You were taking your kids there this morning. I think you're probably just about any parent in Seminole County today with what you experienced this morning.
Well, we got the alert from the school that they were sheltering all the kids. They had the entire school. It's a small school. All the kids were in the same area, but they were singing songs. They were keeping those kids calm because this storm is only about 5 miles away from that schoolhouse. The damage is left behind. You can see pieces of the actual house that collapsed that are littering the roadway. Seminole County's fire response team has been out here helping clear out this area, making it safe again. We spoke to a neighbor just a few moments ago. His house was right next door to the home that collapsed. He said that about 8 houses back there have significant damage to it. He had roof damage. He had his windows blown out. He had a big tree that fell on top of his home. But again, the next door neighbor, his house, he said it's completely flattened. He also sent me some pictures. We're going to post those on WESH.com and have those on air in just a couple of minutes. But he also told us that his wife was inside of that house at the time that damage began. She hid underneath the stairwell. Same thing happened with the neighbors who were actually inside the house that collapsed. They were inside and underneath their stairwell. When that house came down on top of them, they were able to get out safely. Here's what he had to say just a few moments ago as he was walking to the front of the neighborhood.
Just trees down, houses. There's a house just completely gone. I got about 4 trees on my house and roofs damaged, and it's what you would expect from a tornado. It's a mess.
How much of a surprise did this come for you this morning?
Well, I was at work. It was my wife that was under the stairs calling me while it was going on. So it was not a pretty scene, but as soon as I checked the radar, I came here and was able to get through, and unfortunately we did not like what I saw. So, but we'll get through it. We'll be all right.
Is your wife okay?
Yeah, she's fine. Thank you.
Obviously, your neighbors, somebody right next to you had lost their house.
Yeah, their house. Fortunately, they were under the stairs, and God must have saved them because they're. I mean, like I said, you'll see it eventually when they open the streets. But their house is, it's just gone.
Have you ever seen anything like this in this area?
Not like this. No, it's unbelievable.
And again, you were just listening in as we got some comments from a guy who lives right next door to the house that collapsed. His house suffering significant damage. He says that they were about to cut the power to the area. We just saw a Duke Power truck that went back there to maybe cut the power off in this area to make sure that they can continue to work safely to help with the recovery efforts. We've also seen a lot of different roofing companies and others come out here for emergency response to try and fix what's left from behind. But you can see, just if we walk back here, the majority of the damage is kind of centered to this side of the area where the trees have literally blown from the wooded area on top of these houses. Blue tarps are already starting to litter this zone as well. No one is still allowed in unless it's critical that you live here, that you can get back there. Media not allowed to get back there yet as well. But of course, they continue this cleanup. It could be several hours before they can fully reopen this area. We've also seen Seminole County has brought in a couple of different bulldozers to help try and move some of that debris out of the way, just so people can get down the street. That's one of the main reasons why this area is still blocked off, because the roadway has been littered with some of that debris from the house that fell, from the trees that have been flying around this area as well. But the big story from this neighborhood, despite all the damage, is that everyone is okay. And the neighbor that we spoke to, Aaron, he said that he's just thankful his wife, his pets, all okay. They can fix the house, they can fix the roof, they can fix the windows that were blown out. Everybody in this neighborhood, including his neighbors, are all okay. So right now they're just trying to figure out what's the next steps. They're still a bit confused as to where to go from here. But again, traffic in this area is still delayed because of people being blocked off from this area, just trying to recover. But Nancy, as you mentioned, my kids go to school 5 miles from here. I live another 5 miles that direction. It could have easily been any one of our neighborhoods that this impacted. But this storm, it looks like the worst of it, landed right here in the Whispering Winds area. As soon as this roadway reopens, we'll be able to go back there, get you a better look at the vantage point as to the extent of the damage, and we'll bring that to you right here on WESH 2. Guys, back to you in the studio.
Okay, Stu, and we're going to keep you here with us and bring that picture back of that house, because this is the first time that we're seeing this. We received a photograph. Now, remember, crews haven't been allowed back there just yet, but Seminole County releasing this picture, and it really, I mean, it's shocking to see the extent of the damage to this home. You feel for this family. It's just heartbreaking. Yeah. But then you can imagine the shock really for anyone and everyone who lives in this community to see this and to think this could have been any home there.
Yeah. As Stuart mentioned, yeah, I mean, there could have hit any neighborhood in that area. Stuart, we've got the picture pulled up just now of that house that collapsed. But as Nancy mentioned, I mean, it's just crazy to see.
It's crazy to see it like that, guys, because that house literally looks flattened. We expect to see something like that along our coastline whenever we have a hurricane. Tornadoes don't often happen here in the Central Florida area, but it only takes one to damage a house like that. What's the most incredible about seeing that footage from that house and seeing that picture is that everyone that was inside was able to get out safely. They heeded those warnings. They said that they got those warnings from our WESH 2 app. They get those warnings by watching our TV station. They were able to see that something was coming. The emergency alerts went off on their phone. They took cover. It's that action that potentially saved their lives and, of course, saved them from any type of injury that they could have suffered. We can see, again, they got more and more of these trucks coming in, emergency vehicles, to help clean up some of this mess. These are sheriff's office trucks that are going in to help get some of this debris out of the way. But again, guys, that picture, seeing that house collapse, seeing and hearing the damage reports that we're hearing from the other homes that are in this area, it's the warnings. Oftentimes we see a warning pop up on our phone and sometimes we quickly dismiss it. But it's paying attention to those warnings that save these people's lives today. Guys?
Yeah, we heard from a neighbor saying just that, Stuart. She says sometimes we become complacent. You know, the weather has been so nice here in the last few days. We've been enjoying, you know, the beginning of March. And then this just kind of happens. And I think a lot of people are shocked about it. But again, it speaks to that complacency and why we should always pay attention.
And then also the neighbor that Stuart spoke to earlier this morning talked about getting, you know, a message from his wife. She was under the staircase kind of riding out that storm. But you get these push alerts. You go to your safe place so that you can ride these storms out once they pass through your neighborhood, and then you can kind of assess what's going on.
All right, let's get out to Christina Watkins now in Lake Mary. She has been out there now for the past hour or so with the story first of that semi-truck that was toppled over, then turned right side up. That guy back to work. Unbelievable morning for him. What do you have for us now, Christina?
Nancy, even more unbelievable, the driver was in the semi-truck with his dog, which we just confirmed seconds ago. It's a dachshund, not a chihuahua, but nevertheless, the pup was on the ground, running around, tail was wagging. We're all dog owners. We know when a wagging tail is going left and right, that means a happy pup. More seriously, though, on the ground here, crews are now trying to get this semi-truck on the bed of this tow truck here. This is a live look. We watched it within the last 30 minutes as Seminole County emergency leaders got the truck back on its tires. And now as you look live, you can see they are moments away from getting this semi-truck on the bed of the tow truck so they can clear it here from the scene. We're on Commerce Street and Lake Emma Road, and the scene was wild within the last few minutes. Lake Mary Police, Lake Mary Fire, Seminole County Fire Department, we're all here just trying to direct traffic and make sure that crews could clear the scene as quickly as possible. I want to bring you back out here live because we're showing you the driver here. He's in a purple camo shirt. I spoke with a public information officer from Lake Mary Fire Rescue, and she told me the driver didn't even hear anything as he was in this direction. We are just outside of the Social Security Administration building in Lake Mary. Here he is picking up his little pup. happy dog there, but he didn't hear anything. Just within seconds, his truck was on his side. So it truly is a miracle that he is walking. He is okay. He doesn't appear to have any physical injuries. I'd imagine mentally it'll be hard to kind of get over that scary moment, but it is truly a blessing. This man is right here walking and he is okay. One of the main messages from Seminole County leaders today is to take heed to those warnings. We are getting into severe weather season. We've been warning you guys for the last several weeks just about what we can anticipate as we head into severe weather season, and this is just the beginning of it all. So when those warnings come in, they really want people to pay attention and don't take them lightly, because anything within a matter of seconds can happen, and that is exactly what we witnessed here. Right now, the driver looks as if he's getting a little bit of a lift from the tow company so that he can go about his regular day. The caution tape has been removed. Traffic is flowing down Lake Emma Road with no issues, though they still advise everybody here, if you're coming in this direction from Lake Murray Boulevard, coming on Commerce to Lake Emma Road, to just be careful while crews continue to try and get this semi-truck out of the way. Nancy and Sheldon, back to you.
Oh my gosh. All right, Christina, that dog.
I know.
All right, great ending for them. Wonderful to see him just walking around and getting back to his work day, which is incredible. He's going to have quite a story to tell.
Thank God he's okay. The dog's in good
gosh.
spirits. I can't imagine. It's crazy. A few miles away from there, people said that they heard what sounded like a freight train. He was in that big semi-truck, didn't hear anything before it flipped over, but him and his dog are doing okay. We've got eyes and ears all over Central Florida this morning, including from our crews and some of our viewers, including someone who sent us this video from the I-4 area near Sanford. Let's take a look.
Hey, we're in the middle of a tornado. Love all you guys. Not sure what size it is or anything. Hopefully it's just a little one. A lot of debris. Pretty scary. Hopefully everything will be okay. God will watch over us.
All right, so you're looking at some video that a viewer sent us this morning. She was on I-4 making her way to her Monday morning destination, like so many people were doing this morning after dropping the kids off to school, maybe heading to work, a meeting, a doctor's appointment. And this storm got intense over parts of I-4 and other interstates in Central Florida. My heart goes out to this woman because I can only imagine how terrifying it must be to be in your car getting these push alerts that a storm's coming through that area, and you're kind of powerless because you're there.
Well, and you heard
and
her.
she's okay, thankfully.
And you heard her say, "Love you guys." I mean, she was obviously sending a message to her family, friends. You know, she didn't know the outcome of this, and that video right there, if we want to bring it up once again to show folks, this really underscores how lucky we are around here. This happened as people were going to work, as kids were being dropped off at school. This could have been so much worse. Look at the cars in front of her. There's traffic moving on the side of her on I-4. We know what I-4 looks like on a Monday morning, but we haven't seen a Monday morning like this in a really long time, Central Florida. And I really think we all just need to pause. I know there's a lot of people in shock in Seminole County in terms of the damage that they saw there, but we got to pause and really take a moment to reflect on how lucky we are
1000%,
that no one was hurt this morning as people were headed to work and school. Incredible.
Just all the leaves and debris that were flying around in Pamela's video as well. That was just intense. All right, we want to get back to David Jones right now. He is live in Wekiva Springs this morning. He's been talking to neighbors who heard what they described as a freight train coming through their neighborhood, and now they're coming out to check out the damage, David.
Hey, yeah, you're right, they are. We're in the Sweetwater Oaks neighborhood. This is Fox Valley Drive, right off Wekiva Springs, maybe about a mile or so down from the split with 434. The road was blocked off for much of the morning. As you can see behind me, these two massive trees actually fell, blocking the road, but they have since now, from the last time we came to you guys, they've since now reopened Fox Valley Drive. So that's how quickly these crews got to work, cutting up this tree, pushing this debris off to the side of the road, putting it into piles, taping off the piles, and preparing it to be hauled off. So crews really got to work here very, very quickly. We also saw neighbors, a lot of neighbors coming out here to help their fellow neighbors actually chop up the trees. We talked with one who had a tree actually fall and clip the side of her garage. And look, we can actually go over here. Now that has been cleared out. So again, very, very quickly, the cleanup that's happening out here. We know that a tree actually fell, and Frank, I don't know if we can maybe pivot over here to the left, but we can actually see a tree that has fallen in the backyard of that home as well, that we can actually hear the chainsaws running, and so they're clearing that up as we speak. Now, I was speaking with the neighbor who actually owns the property that these two massive trees were on, and we were talking a little bit about how lucky he says that they were, that they fell in the direction that they fell. They could have fallen just a few degrees off and landed on one of these cars over here. They could have fallen the opposite direction and landed on his roof. So he's saying he's very thankful. They did have a little branch that fell onto the roof, but from what he sees, no major damage out here. So again, very thankful. We know that the clubhouse, the tennis courts, and the pickleball courts as well, a tree had fallen on the fencing around the pickleball courts, which is leaning over, and we showed you that a little bit earlier if you were joining us. So again, very, very quickly, the response from crews out here from the county, and now the next step is to get all this debris hauled off. Covering Seminole County, live in Wekiva Springs, David Jones, WESH 2 News.
All right, David, and for folks that are just joining us, I think it's also time to reflect on the fact that Seminole County, I think, is offering a masterclass on how to respond to things like this, because just how quickly these crews have been able to move into those neighborhoods and get to work. So important to talk about that and the training that has gone into moments like this, because we're really seeing it play out.
Yes, we are. Good to see them mobilizing as quickly as they are, and also David showing us a video of neighbors that were helping each other after a tree fell on someone's home there in that community. I've been very curious about what's been happening in Orange County, and now we do have a look at what's going on.
Yeah, so just to give you some perspective here, what you're looking at. So this is Orlando Executive Airport, not too far from downtown Orlando, and this is what it looked like when the storm, the heaviest part of the storm, was moving through. This was actually shot by Maria Comerford, who is our videographer in Chopper 2, which, by the way, we should mention Chopper 2 is going to be up and moving here shortly to give you a different perspective of the damage that we're seeing in so many of our neighborhoods. We're going to have that for you shortly, but you can see that heavy rain coming down there in Orlando this afternoon.
I was just texting with a neighbor. I was telling you I was curious what was happening. So I live about a mile away from the Executive Airport, going closer to Lake Eola. We're neighbors.
We're neighbors.
And she just texted me that she said she was driving down 50 near the Hampton area, and it looked like one of the stores there had their roof peeled off. So maybe we can get some more people. I'll reach out to the newsroom and let them know to check this out.
Okay.
But there's also images that we're seeing, or impact that we're hearing about in Orange County as well.
All right, yeah, we'll get to that. Let's go back now to Seminole County and Bob Hazen, who is once again standing by in this neighborhood. Bob, how are things going over there?
Yeah, we are right outside we're on Markham Woods Road right now, but right outside that neighborhood we've been talking about all morning, the Whispering Winds neighborhood. And I'm here with Jack, who lives here on Markham Woods Road. And Jack, talk about what this storm sounded like when it was coming over here.
Yeah, it sounded like, I thought a jet plane, but they always say a train, so whatever. And just a few seconds later, debris started hitting the windows on all sides of the house, and my wife said, we better get in the closet. So we did, and didn't last very long, but it was pretty ugly.
Yeah, for sure. And your house did take some damage. What did you see?
We were blessed. Well, it blew some tile off the roof, and a lot of trees down and so forth, but yeah, we're blessed really, because didn't have any water damage.
And so you said, what was the first alert you guys got about the storm coming on?
My phone went off and said there's a tornado in the area, but I'm used to hearing those quite often. Didn't pay much attention to it until I heard it.
Right. And then you guys got in the closet. How long did you stay in there before you came back out?
No, not very long, because it quieted down pretty quick, and then it just rained really hard. And
is your power out now?
No, I thought it was out. It may have gone out. We have a whole house generator, and it always kicks on, so I don't know if it ever went off totally or not, but ours stayed on.
And hearing about your neighbors, I mean, there's some houses back in the neighborhood here that got pretty significantly damaged.
Yeah, some level, I don't know. I haven't been around. You can't even get back there now, I don't think, except to walk, I guess.
All right, Jack, well, thank you very much for talking to us, and hope everything works out well for your house here. Obviously, some damage, but you said there's no water in the house, right?
Right, yeah, we're blessed. It could have been a lot worse.
Jack, thank you very much. And I want to walk you guys around, just show you some of the other damage. But back to from what we've seen so far, because we're a few blocks down from that Whispering Winds neighborhood where the house collapsed and fell down. So we're walking across Jack's front yard right now, and if we look up, you can see those tiles he was talking about, those terracotta tiles that are on the roof there that got ripped off. So a lot of those are gone right now, and if you just kind of around the yard, all those branches, all those limbs down, you can also see shingles, obviously shingles that are in the yard here. And there's papers everywhere. I've been looking at some of these papers, not to snoop, but just to see where they came from. Some of these are bank statements that were from decades ago. I'm talking about 1995. So these are things that were probably up in people's, blown out with the wind and all of the wood that came off of them as well. So look at this big limb right here. This one came down. As Jack said, none of the trees that are near his house landed on his house. So that's good for him, at least, that didn't have any damage from trees coming down right onto his roof. But I want to come around over here too, because this is heading back towards that Whispering Winds neighborhood. And you can see, obviously there's a mattress or something like that. And James, as you're walking here, watch out for this fence post that's down. But this is a brick wall that got knocked over during the storm as well. So that's a pretty large section of this very sturdy brick wall that's gone now. And right behind that, of course, you can see that big tree that was snapped in half. And then as we come down a little bit more, just kind of look down through there. These are backyards of people, obviously, so it's not the front of the house, but you can see some of the damage there and some of the things that are just scattered all over the neighborhood. And that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of throughout this neighborhood. Traffic, if you're coming this way, by the way, stay away from the neighborhood itself, but Markham Woods traffic is very, very slow right now. People coming through just to look. And as well as the damage and all the first responder vehicles out here. So definitely stay away from this area if you can, because it's congested and it's also not very safe in the neighborhood. Back to you guys.
Good advice. If you're curious, just continue watching us and we'll bring you the pictures and the video of the damage. And it's not a good time to be out on the road, even if this thing has passed, and it's no time for curiosity. It's just not safe yet.
Not at all. And we're working to get more information, get more details. We've been checking in with people that we know in our lives to see how their neighborhoods are looking, how their drives around are looking right now. And we're working to check some of that stuff out, including the intersection of Hampton and East Colonial, just to see what's going on in that area, because there could be some damage reported there as well.
Yeah, and we can't underscore the impact of these gusts, right? This storm, blew through, and just because we saw so much of this damage and so much of these high winds in Seminole County doesn't mean that other parts of our area didn't get strong, sudden gusts that could have caused a lot of damage. So we are checking in with all of our counties. Yeah. We have crews all over Central Florida bringing you the very latest of this really shocking Monday morning for Central Florida. Really, that one woman just said, not on my bingo card.
No, not at all.
We just heard her say that.
Again, we knew that this was coming, just the severity of it popped up very quickly, and our team was on it to help people get through the worst of that storm.
All right. Let's restart with our news at noon.
WESH 2 News starts now with breaking news.
It was really strong winds, and I'm here 25 years through several hurricanes. This was a wind that sounded different.
The noise, it was wild. When they say it sounds like a freight train, that's what I heard. I've lived through many hurricanes, as you can imagine. I've never seen anything like that. That wind was incredible. It was terrifying.
Out from so many people right now, homes collapsed, trees are down, trucks were even knocked over, and neighborhoods rocked by possible tornadoes touching down across Central Florida.
All right, right now we want to get to a press conference. Seminole County updating us on the very latest on the impact of this storm this morning. Let's listen in.
The way they do that is they look at the damage in the trees, see if there's anything twisted, the home damage, and then identify based on damage what the strength of the event, whether it was straight line winds or it was a tornado. I've been through a couple of the neighborhoods back there, and it certainly looks like something that we've experienced here before, a lower level type of tornado, but the National Weather Service, of course, will put that out, the exact level that it made it to if it was a tornado. We did get a warning, of course, early. A lot of people did heed that warning, thankfully, and our vice chairman, lives in this community. She actually went in the closet with her pets, which is exactly what we want people to do, and they're fine, and everyone else is fine as well. One of the homes did collapse right across I-4 as it made that track towards the Orlando Sanford International Airport. that house that collapsed, the individuals, thankfully, according to our fire department, they were extricated from the home. So I'll let Chief Zellers talk about that. We have about 3,500 customers without power right now. Power crews are out repairing that. We're still doing damage assessment. We have damage assessment crews in the field right now. We do have emergency tarps that are available, so individuals that need tarps for their roofs, those are going to become available. They are available immediately for those individuals that need that. A lot of trees down, and roadways, power lines down. Please consider those power lines like they are live. Don't drive over power lines. We are asking people in these neighborhoods, if they could, stay at home for a while. Don't go out and drive around. It's not safe to do so right now. Most of the intersection power, the traffic signals are back live. But if there are traffic signals that go down for some reason, treat that as a four-way stop. So come up, stop. Make sure, just like if you had 4 stop signs, just like we do in hurricanes. A lot of damage out there, so we're asking people to be safe. Vice Chairman, her to come up and just talk about what she experienced, and then our chief.
Well, thank you. This is really about the 2 people to my right and left that are here in every disaster in this county. I would say from all of the elected officials locally, our hearts and prayers out to the people that are impacted. We've already had neighbors reaching out and offering places for folks to live, anything that they need. This is a wonderful, wonderful community when it comes to emergencies. I would tell you that I am fully appreciative of the fact that as I came down Markham Woods Road after coming out of my closet, Duke Energy is all up and down the road, as are some of the other utilities. Our first responders in these times are just priceless, absolutely priceless. I will turn it over to the chief now to talk to you about what they've seen live. He will be taking me for a tour of the impacted area afterwards. And just know that all of the folks here at Seminole County government are here to support anyone in our community that needs our help. Thank you, Alan.
Todd Zellers, Seminole County Fire Department Assistant Chief. We did arrive on scene early and found one structure completely collapsed with 2 victims from the inside that had safely extricated themselves. So there were no injuries in that collapse. Like Alan was saying, there's plenty of debris in the roadways, plenty of damaged roofs, lots of downed trees and power lines. The area is not very safe right now, so please steer clear of the area if you could. We initially set up a joint command and an area command with the Seminole County Sheriffs, as well as the Department of Emergency Management. We did wide area searches to ensure that there were no other victims or damaged houses. I'd like to turn it over to Sheriff Lehman.
Well, again, I want to thank members of the media who, meteorologists back at the stations, people on the radio, were keeping our citizens informed as this fast-moving storm headed across Seminole County and paved out a path where people could find safe havens and safety. And it's nothing short of a miracle for these 2 individuals in this particular home that is 80% that they were able to make it out there safely. So again, thank you to our media partners to keep everyone informed about what was happening. When situations like this happen, we have great confidence in Alan Harris and his team with emergency management, our partnership with the fire department and our Board of County Commissioners. The message is always the same after this thing. We want to discourage people from sightseeing. We're going to have a marked patrol deputy at the entryway to these subdivisions that are most directly affected. That will be for at least the next several days. So there'll be a deputy at the intersection of any damage-prone area that has been affected throughout Seminole County. There's about 500 residents or so that are still without power. We will evaluate that with our partners with Duke Energy, Florida Power and Light, and if power is still out at the time it becomes dark here in Seminole County, we're going to have additional marked patrol deputies and anti-crime units patrolling those areas. Again, when power's out, that brings with us some challenges. We'll make sure that we have adequate resources at the sheriff's office to make sure that any citizen is prepared for that. We don't know of any intersections that are without power. Again, as a reminder, should you ever come up to an intersection without power, you treat that as a four-way stop. Power lines, you've heard all of us say power lines are incredibly dangerous. Most situations that occur after the storm that result in harm, injury, and sometimes fatality. So if you see a power line down, don't try to experiment what that line is. Call somebody. We'll have deputies in and around the area. Call 911. Call our non-emergency line. Whatever we can do to be a good partner. Again, these storms move fast. It's something that we've experienced, although not in recent years, but we've had some experience here in Seminole County. We want to help our citizens and neighbors rebuild. And our office stands at the ready for whatever we can do to be a good partner for that. So again, thank you so much.
Will there be additional pressures apart from the one today? So when can we expect?
As we need, we'll set up additional press conferences. Yeah.
What is your message to people that are affected? Obviously, they're now rebuilding.
Yeah, so we have folks from our damage assessment crews out right now. The American Red Cross is also on the scene, providing assessment at this point to identify what the needs are. As I mentioned, we're going to be opening up the tarp location, so people will have blue tarps. I also saw some individuals that already had some of their roofers out, so they were already working with a roofer company, and of course if they do that, they may not even need a tarp, but we're going to have tarps out there for those that need it. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, Chief Zeller had said before that the one house that collapsed, the only part of the house that didn't collapse just happened to be where they were. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's the importance of quick alerts, having a weather radio, some type of device where you can get a tornado warning, going into that safe location, just like Commissioner Hurd did or Vice Chair Hurd did. That's what you want to do. We've experienced this a couple times. We had a tornado in Castleberry, 2007, 2008. The family moved into that one room. I don't know if you remember that, but the rest of the home destroyed. And they would have had they not moved into that room. So thankfully, this couple also moved into the room of safety. That's what we want people to do. Even in our own buildings, because we were in the cone of danger, our own buildings, we had people moving to lower floors and interior corridors. Okay, thank you very much.
We'll provide additional information as it comes in. Our National Weather Service is on the ground right now.
All right, you've been listening to that news conference there. We heard from the sheriff's office, from county leaders, emergency managers, all of them truly praising, first of all, what people did when this storm was moving in. It sounds like every resident in that neighborhood, as we look at this damage now from Chopper 2, did what they were supposed to do. We heard about people going under their stairs with their pets, people seeking cover in their house away from windows. And thank God they did, because now we are really truly taking in the extent of the damage here in this neighborhood. These are live pictures now from Chopper 2 over the Whispering Winds neighborhood there, Blue Iris Place in Longwood, a beautiful community now looking like this. And you have to expect people in this neighborhood to be in shock looking at these pictures right now.
And it is one thing, as you guys take a live look at the images that we're seeing from Chopper 2, it's one thing to hear people on the ground or neighbors talking about what they experienced, but it's completely different to see the extensive damage and just how widespread it is. We do know that the family that lived in that home, they all survived. That is the great news to pass along this morning. Obviously, emotionally, it might be a different story, but physically, they are okay. They managed to get out despite that. But it's one thing to hear the fire chief talk about that, and then you see the image from Chopper 2. It's just incredible.
So let's get to Eric Burris. He is in the chopper right now, live, and joining us with more from his perspective. And Eric, as we take this in for the first time, it's from this view now, from the chopper, it's shocking to see that damage, but it's also incredible to see how isolated it is. You can almost see how this thing just cut through that neighborhood, because there are homes so close to this devastation that seem untouched.
Well, and that's the sad part, right, about tornadoes, is that they will go over one home and then they will impact one home. But in this area, I mean, it's very, very clear we had a tornado on the ground and for several blocks worth. Just to give you an idea of location, kind of stepping back to look at the forest through the trees. We're just south of Alaqua, right along Markham Woods, just off to the west of I-4 here. And yeah, I mean, these are big, beautiful pieces of property. There's a lot of trees, and while we were flying here, before we even stumbled on any damage, off in the distance, you could see these treetops shredded. That was your first signal. Then we got closer and we saw some of these homes with roof damage. Some of these homes where their walls actually caved in on themselves, and you can clearly tell that the damage is strewn in all different directions. Another telltale sign that there was a tornado that touched down. And just looking around at the footage, you can see those trees just completely shredded apart. If the bark had been pulled from them, that would have given you an idea of a higher end tornado. But in this case, you know, as we heard from Alan Harris just a few moments ago, maybe a lower end tornado, EF0, EF1. We'll let our colleagues at the National Weather Service make that justification. But on the right side of the screen, you see one house with some significant roof damage, and then the other house on the top right part there completely pulled apart. I mean, think about the winds that had to generate for that to happen. Whether it was a wood block, a wood frame home versus a concrete structure, that has you know, some telltale sign there, of course, in what it can withstand. But imagine being the neighbor and hearing your neighbor's house completely ripped apart. Imagine being in that home as your walls are failing, not even just your roof, but the walls are failing. And you know, I could tell you firsthand, as this was going through this location, I was just a few miles up the road at the Sanford Airport, where there were leaves and pieces of paper raining down with the rain. That is just incredible. So yes, this morning we had essentially a supercell, much like what you'll see in Oklahoma and Arkansas during tornado season. It started in Sumter County. I was watching it on Coffee Talk this morning about 8:15, and I kept saying to the storm, like, don't you do it, don't you do it. And it kind of got feistier and feistier. And by about 8:30 in Sumter County, there was a tornado warning issued. And then, of course, we know it essentially moved all the way across. We had tornado warning after tornado warning until it moved off the shoreline there in Volusia County. There are a lot of cars lined up just outside of the main damage route. Certainly, I'm expecting these to be homeowners that may not have been home. There's going to be some responders. I see a front end loader already trying to clear the roads out, because even if your house was not touched, you still need to be able to come and go, and that's going to be, you know, second priority after everybody's checked in on to make sure that they're safe. Then we want to clear the roads, make sure that there's no down power lines, and you know, travel along Markham Woods. You can kind of just by looking down, travel is very slow going, but it is allowed to go through.
I'm curious, look at that, just as we're looking at another house there. I don't think we've seen this one with that significant roof damage there.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm curious, as you worked your way from Executive Airport in Orlando, which is where I assume you were, where you started this flight, and you ended up here, did you by any chance notice any traffic lights out? Is there any issues on the roads? I think a lot of people, you know, are at work and they may be watching our coverage on their phones or computers, wondering, am I safe to, you know, go home? Maybe the kids later on today. Did you notice any traffic issues out there?
You know, the good news is we were traveling through some spots, of course, that had gotten some pretty good winds. We saw a tree down a little west of here on a neighborhood, but no, it did not look like there were any major traffic issues. And it wasn't until we got right here that we started to see some backups. And it's not even that it's the traffic lights. It's more just the emergency responders doing what they have to do, making sure to block these roads off. There's fire trucks that are blocking some of the roads here, because certainly there are trees down. Inherently, I see some bucket trucks probably trying to do some work on the power lines. There's a line of high voltage lines that kind of go right through here. They do not seem to have been impacted. Of course, there is some decent slack in there so that they can tolerate some of the gustier winds. But at least here, it's a fairly localized thing. Markham Woods is traveling through, but there's a definite backup, as maybe there's some looky-loos as opposed to just traveling right through here. But I would say, if you don't live in this area, just as Alan had said, and just as the sheriff had said, you don't want to be here. You don't want to be getting in the way of these responders that are trying to make sure everybody's safe. The American Red Cross folks that are trying to make sure everybody has a roof to sleep under tonight, that they have food, Certainly, if this is your home, right, and you look at this house, looks like for the most part relatively unscathed, but you go one house over and it's a little more damage. All of these families are impacted by this to one way, shape, or form. Even if it's just your sense of security. Mother Nature came through on a whim. It was a very well-warned storm. Your first warning weather team had been talking about it for days. But that's one thing. It's another thing to have the safety of your home, the security of your bedroom, kind of touched in one way, shape, or form. And, I look at that one or two homes that are so significantly damaged. These people are going to have a rough road ahead emotionally. Forget the actual building. You're talking about everything that you hold so dear, your pictures, your mementos, thrown around. I mean, it is just something so tragic. And so these people are going to have a lot of work to do. And then you add to the fact that the community is responding. I see so many, whether it's fire and ambulance or bucket trucks, whether it's just folks trying to cut down trees so that people can travel to and from their homes. There's such a beautiful community response. And as Mr. Rogers always said, right, look for the helpers. They're out there. We're a couple of hours after the tornado came through here, and already there are so many helpers that are doing what they can. I see it looks like kind of an emergency response vehicle, Seminole County response vehicle, like a command center being set up. They're going to make sure that anyone that was touched by this storm in a negative way has what they need for the short term, and then of course the long-term roadmap goes through as well.
Always see the very best of Central Florida after events like this. We've seen it time and time again over the years, and it's wonderful to see again. Neighbors helping neighbors, people offering these families a place to stay if they need it. And really, we're talking just a couple of hours after this event. We're seeing such a tremendous response.
And when we saw the live images from News Chopper 2, you can see just the extensive damage to so many people's roofs. That's why Seminole County is offering free tarps to any families that need to cover any gaping holes in their homes until they can get a more stable solution long term. We want to check back in with Stuart Moore. He is on the ground not too far away from where we saw that house collapse and some of the other damage there in Whispering Wind.